What's up, Hoop Reporters? It's your boy Manny here, and welcome to another edition of the Hoop Report, the NAIA Women's Basketball Podcast, episode 24. We finally get to talk about some conference basketball as the first official conference Saturday of the season has come and gone. A lot to talk about, a lot of big upsets, a lot of big wins, a lot of tough wins, a lot of gritty wins, all those type of things. But we finally get to talk about some conference basketball. I know a few conferences kind of started their play the week prior, 2 weeks ago now. But everybody's pretty much joined the party off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure the last few conferences that were kind of waiting to start their conference play have officially started. So we will get into that one. Lex will be joining me to talk about the back end. 7 conferences in total, 8 really. But again, obviously, like we've talked about, the CCAC will have their own separate coverage throughout the year when it comes to conference play specifically. So Lex will come on to talk about the last 4. I'll talk about the first 3, as well as some of the key game reviews going through the weekend. Quick little weekend preview ahead. Before I forget, this may be a little bit longer of an episode just because I don't know if we're going to be able to have the Thursday midweek episode out this week. Stuff on our end, we'll get it fixed for sure. But just in case, wanted to give you guys kind of double up, so to speak, and give you a little bit of an extra longer episode where we will preview a little bit the conference games that are going to be coming between now, when you guys are watching this on Monday, and then all the way through the weekend into Saturday before our next Monday episode drops. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk about the key game reviews first. So number 1, game of the week, number 18, St. Francis of Indiana beats number 23, Indiana Tech. Callie Gregory, only player in double figures for St. Francis with 23, but the game was won by pressure offense. And what I mean by that is St. Francis earned 22 free throw attempts, only made 12, 54% from the line, not ideal, but the Warriors earned 13 and then only made 7. So in hindsight, if the Warriors make a lot more of those free throws, it might be a different ball game. It might be a different situation where if you get those extra 6 points now, the lead maybe cuts down a little bit late, and now we're looking at the game possibly being a little bit different. St. Francis also had 11 offensive rebounds. They out-rebounded the Warriors, not by much in that department, but any extra possessions are going to be valuable, especially in a top 25 matchup like we had. Also a tough night shooting for the Warriors, 7 of 22 from a three-point line, while St. Francis went 2 for 12. Less attempts, less makes, but when you look at the amount of misses right there, you only missed 10 threes from St. Francis. So that's 10 possessions that were not, again, in retrospect, that were not converted into points. At the same time, you missed over 20, over double that when we talk about for St. Francis, 7 for 20, for the Warriors, 7 for 22. It's going to come back to hurt you in the end. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me in that game. Not necessarily a bad game by the Warriors, just a tough night shooting the ball for sure, and not being able to convert on your free throw opportunities. Even though there wasn't that many, you got to be able to A, get them when you can, and B, keep the opponents from getting so many opportunities. For the St. Francis team, I do think they kind of eked out that one, just because, again, to shoot 54% from the free throw line against an Indiana Tech team who's coming off of a big win against Indiana Wesleyan, definitely think you kind of squeaked out on that one, in my opinion. But a win is a win, and so you got to give credit to St. Francis of Indiana. Heading over now to our sleeper game of the week, and it did not disappoint. Round of applause for the UT Southern Firehawks, upsetting number 24, Lindsey Wilson. A quiet 8.8 assist performance for Miss Silky for UT Southern. It was a great shooting night for UT Southern. Great shooting night. 40% from the field, 40% from the three-point line. Very big reason that they were able to come away with this very close victory. They also forced Lindsey Wilson into 16 turnovers, including 10 steals. So not only are they forcing him into turnovers, they're forcing live ball turnovers, able to get out and run in transition. We know this team loves to run. We know that Coach Ross loves to get up and down the court, make sure that his ladies are in shape to be able to make opponents pay for these live ball turnovers. So played right into their hands. Lindsey Wilson wasn't able to take care of the ball, and it showed in the end. They also forced the Blue Raiders out in open court, scrambling in their defense, fouls. 29 free throw attempts for the Firehawks. It's going to be hard. We just talked about it with St. Francis and Indiana Tech. It's going to be hard when you're allowing these top teams 3 points at the line. Now, obviously, they got to make them, but assuming they do, like they were in this game, it's going to be a situation where you cannot afford to, A, let them get easy buckets at the line, and B, let their confidence go. Because a lot, you know how it works. A lot of times with these shooters and even non-shooters, just seeing the ball go through the hoop a few times, getting in the free throw line, just you and the rim, work on your form, work on your touch. That's all you need to get going. We've seen plenty of times. You've all been around the game long enough to know if I see the ball go in once, twice, if I feel great on these free throws, even if it's just a couple of shots throughout the beginning of the game, it gets my confidence flowing. And now that three ball that I'm going to take the next possession feels a lot better. That mid-range pull-up that I'm going to take, even with the contested hand, is going to feel a lot better. So I definitely do think that was a big part of this one. For the Blue Raiders, it was not a great shooting night. 7 for 25 from the three-point line, 26 for 33 from the free throw line. It is a good coverage, obviously, to be able to not shoot the ball that well from the three-point line, but to have a great night from the free throw line, in my opinion. 26 for 33, I do believe, is a really solid night. But it just kind of came down to, I think they were forcing a little too many threes. I know that's how they like to play. I know they like to get a lot of shots up, and they were good shots. But at a certain point, kind of like going back to the St. Francis Indiana Tech game, and St. Francis won going 2 for 12. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's better to stop putting up that many attempts. You know, obviously, if they're good in the flow of the offense, even if it's late in the shot clock or whatever the case, or early in the shot clock, whatever the case may be, if it's a good shot by one of your better shooters, by all means, take it. But understand that now, if you are not shooting the ball that well, it is going to be important for you to be more selective with your attempts, especially in a game where UT Southern clearly was having a great night shooting the ball, clearly was going to be the one who was dominating that side of the ball a little bit more in terms of shooting the ball. So you can't necessarily try and outgun them when they are that hot. And this goes for any team, honestly. When another team is that hot, you gotta understand who has momentum and be more selective with your shot opportunities when they do come. Because if not, long rebounds mean long shots mean long rebounds, transition points, open shots on the other side of the ball. You're not making the defensive work on that side of the ball either. So it kind of all will culminate into a tough game and a tough uphill battle. 3 double-figure scores for UT Southern, led by Ashley Dickey, who had 18 points and 6 steals. I mentioned the turnovers, a big part of the reason that I think Lindsey Wilson was not able to come away with this one. UT Southern did come up with a really, really, really big win that I think will put them in receiving votes talk. Obviously, it's early in this part of these next few polls and then these next 2 weeks. So not saying they're going to be in that right now, but I do think this is a good step in the right direction. I do think this is a team that will flirt being in, being out, being in, being out. I don't think they're going to be a perennial name in the receiving votes picture, but a team that we need to keep an eye on, especially as the Southern States is getting more and more national recognition. They could be a team that does make a little bit of a push there throughout the next couple weeks here. Now heading over to another of our underrated games or under the radar games, Texas A&M San Antonio beats Texas Wesleyan. Kind of a quick take here. I just think it was more depth from the Jag. They shot 94% from the free throw line, so that definitely is going to help. And it was a great team defense as well, forcing 15 steals, I should say, for the Jags against the Rams. I think it was just a great team win by the Jags. And the reason I wanted to put them on the under the radar list, I do think they are an under the radar team. I think a team that is going to use the regular season as the time goes on, just getting better and better and better. And once they get to conference time officially in the spring and they get to tournament time in their conference, I think they'll be a really tough team to kind of knock out and could maybe be a dark horse when we get there. But I definitely just wanted to give the Jags their flowers for a very good win against a very game Texas Wesleyan team. And then we head over to number 4, Marion beating number 19, Cumberland. I'm not going to lie to y'all. The Knights are just looking really, really good right now. Number 4 in the country. This game specifically, I mean, they're obviously not the Cumberlands of the past, but they're still one of the best teams in the country. And it was just flat out too much Knights on both sides of the ball. 3 players double-figure scoring, of course, led by Abby McNally with 19 points. Only 1 player for Cumberlands was in double figures, and that was off the bench. It wasn't even one of the starters. 30% shooting across the board for the Pats. 30% from the field, from the three-point line, and from the free throw line. And meanwhile, the Knights are shooting 45 from the field, 50 from the three-point line, and 75 from the free throw line. It was just all Knights coming up all night, so to speak. And this team is going to be a tough team in the Crossroads. I think it's their conference to lose in every sense of the word. I think they're the team to beat in the Crossroads. Wherever they go to opening rounds, for the most part, they're going to be the team to beat. Like, they are one of the top 5 teams in the country for a reason, and I mean that legitimately. They're going to hold on to that number 4 spot for a very long time. They could very easily sneak up into that 1 through 3, maybe 2 and 3, I should say, as the conference they're starting to play, because, again, for Campbellsville and for Bethel, who are 2 and 3 right now in the Mid-South, I could see them dropping a game or 2. In the Crossroads, I really don't see it right now. I just don't see it. I know the Crossroads has some very, very strong opponents and some very game opponents. I don't think Marion's going to run through the conference by any stretch of the imagination, but it is their conference to lose right now. And I know it's kind of early. I know they haven't gotten into conference play just yet, but man, this Marion team is getting real scary. And so it's only November. The only weak week preview game that I have lined up is one of our other under the radar games. I know with all being conference games, we're going to try, I should say, as an organization, not picking too many conference games right now. And once we get into the spring, all the game of the weeks, all the sleeper games, like it's all going to be conference games because that's really what most of the schools are going to be lining up. You're not going to have too many non-conference games here and there. And if they are, let's be real, they're not going to be anything crazy. They're not going to be anything of top 25 non-conference things for the most part. So I'm trying to save that as long as we can until we get there. That's why we're trying to stay away from picking a game of the week that is a conference rival or a conference game. Got a few of those that we could have picked this past weekend for sure, but again, want to stay away from that for the most part. IU Columbus versus Receiving Boats Georgetown. I think that's going to be a very underrated game for sure. I would have Receiving Boats Georgetown in that one, but I do think it could be a close one. And if IU Columbus kind of comes away with the victory, I wouldn't be that surprised. I wouldn't be surprised for sure, but I do think Georgetown comes away with it. Probably an 8-point or so favorite in this one, in my opinion, but it's kind of a quick game that I wanted you guys to kind of keep on your radar as we get into the week here. But like I mentioned, majority of this episode is between Lex, going to be about reviewing Conference Saturday that just passed. We've got the Frontier, we've got the AAC, the CCAC, the Sun, the Heart, the GPAC. We got everybody that pretty much is lined up or hasn't played yet. I think the Crossroads might be the only conference, at least from what I know off the top of my head right now, that hasn't played a conference game yet. And I have to double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that they're one of the only ones of the 20 that haven't played yet. But when we talk about the Frontier, we'll go all the way back to Montana State Northern versus Receiving Boats Providence. MSU Northern with the upset, 62-53, big win for Montana State Northern. 3 players, double figures scoring for both teams. So it was a very offensive heavy game for MSU Northern. Lauren Gunn, 15 points, 6 of 12 shooting, 3 or 4 from the three-point line. And Kaneza, his bad horse, 12 points, 9 rebounds, almost a double-double for her. Biggest thing for me from this one for MSU Northern, they had 10 more paint points than Providence. They also had an overall better shooting day. Like that really what it comes down to. You're going to see, and as I was going through the stats, kind of going back in a lot of these games, at the end of the day, the name of the game is putting the ball in the basket more times than your opponent. And, when you look at the stats, when you watch the games, sometimes it just comes down to who had a better shooting night. And it sucks to say in certain aspects, but that's just kind of how it works. Sometimes the team that just had a better shooting night or a better shooting stretch, because there were some games that we're going to talk about where it was a quarter. It wasn't even like a game. It was just one quarter that just everything went right for one team and went wrong for the other team. That's kind of how it works sometimes. But for MSU Northern, they were definitely on the ladder of that. A big win for them and an upset that I think will probably hurt Providence a little bit when we talk about Receiving Votes in a couple of weeks here. But very strong start for MSU Northern in their conference play to open up for the Frontier. Number 14, Carroll loses to number 17, Rocky Mountain, another upset in the Frontier. The Frontier, I'm telling y'all, it is the wild, wild West. It is wild like the West because, wow, Rocky Mountain with a sizable win, in my opinion, 67-56, a 9-point win there for the Bears. 4 out of the 5 stars for Rocky Mountain were in double-figure scoring, only 1 for Carroll. Again, offense was just on it for the Bears. Carroll just wasn't able to really get anybody else going. Ileana Moran, 21 points. Isabella Hegman and Paige Wasson, double-doubles for both of them. Very, very impressive to have those 3 players all hitting at the same time. And a lot of times, especially when we talk about these top 25 teams and when you play against other top 25 teams, I just said the name of the game, put the ball in the basket. But at the same time, the name of the game is whose key players are on at the same time. A lot of these teams are going to have 3 double-figure scoring players in these games. You're going to hear me say that a lot. And I wouldn't expect anything less. It's November. Everybody's fresh-ish. Everybody's in good rhythm-ish. But when we get to spring, we get into February, into March, who is still relatively fresh? Who is at close to 100% as possible? No one will be 100%. No one ever is 100% in March and February. But who can get the closest to that is going to be the biggest thing. And who has the chemistry and has used the regular season to iron out all those little wrinkles that you need to do, iron out all the little hiccups that you had at the beginning of the year, and be a lot more polished in their offense, especially from having your top 3 or so players always hitting on the same night. They're not always going to put up 20 a night. They're not always going to have double-doubles all night. But can you find a way to get them an average of 12 to 15 points, get them a good number of touches, get them a good number of shots? Because a lot of these players, even if they're not scoring, they're so impactful. You need to have them involved throughout the entire game. For Rocky Mountain, they also had over double the turnovers of Carroll. 18 for Rocky Mountain, 6 for Carroll, and you still come over with the victory. That's a very interesting aspect of it, because you would assume that Rocky Mountain kind of was it would hurt them. But sometimes, again, live ball turnovers are not the same as dead ball turnovers. Now, what I mean by that is a steal, it's a lot more important than a ball goes out of bounds, 3 seconds, shot clock violation, all those type of turnovers. They're momentum plays, don't get me wrong, but now you got to play against a setup defense as opposed to a quick steal going in transition. Now we get 2 easy buckets. That's kind of how it works sometimes. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it definitely is something that people maybe overlook. You see, 18 turnovers. Oh, wait, they must have won the game. They almost forced 20 turnovers and you only coughed the ball up 6 times. But then you look at it and you look deeper into the stats, you look deeper into the film, 18 turnovers, but maybe only 2 of those were steals. 3 of those were steals. Like, that's kind of how it works. And it puts more pressure now on your offense to say, hey, we forced turnover, but now we got to be able to score in the half court, because we don't have the luxury of a 3-on-2, 2-on-1 type of break. So it's definitely a tough pill to swallow, I'm sure, for Carroll. And the Bears, again, they had an overall better shooting day. They shot the ball 59% from the field, 42%, 41% from the three-point line. Compare that to Carroll, who was 34 and 26 respectively. Put the ball in the basket. It's a make or miss league. It's a make or miss sport. It sucks to say sometimes, but sometimes the ball just doesn't want to go in, and sometimes the ball just doesn't want to do anything but go in for the other team. And you got to work with it. You got to figure out ways to win, and that's what great teams do. I do think it won't hurt Carroll too much. I mean, it's a 14-17 matchup. It's not going to be anything crazy, but it'll probably hurt them a little bit depending on how the rest of these next 2 weeks go for that team. Dakota State versus Bellevue. Nothing much to talk about there. Number 5 in the country does what number 5 in the country does. A dominant 105-57 win for the Trojans. Caitlin Dyer, Tabor Teal combined for 40 points. Bellevue actually had more attempts than Dakota State, 70-63. But Dakota State's offense was just in more sync. 28 assists to Bellevue's 9. I look at assists. If you have 20 plus assists as a team in one given game, that means that everybody was touching the ball. That means that ball was popping. That means that everybody was involved. That means that you were forcing the defense to have to work for every single stop if they even got it. And if you look at 9 assists, that tells me from a defense side of things, the Trojans were disrupting everything. They were forcing them into a lot of dribbles. For me, again, assists are the most fluid stat in basketball, in my opinion. What's an assist? You know what I'm saying? For me, 2 dribbles or less, that's an assist. If I give somebody the ball, they get to 1 dribble pull up, that's an assist in my book. If I give the ball and somebody hits me with a tween cross, double cross, okay, that's not an assist anymore. That is their own bucket. Assuming that rule, 9 assists tells me that you had to force them into a lot more off the bounce shots, trying to create for themselves instead of having someone create for them. So that is a recipe for success when you make them work on defense and then you also make them work on offense. There's no surprise that they had the 105-57 victory that they have. And Dakota State, another team, in my opinion, I think that top 5 is going to be set for a very good number of weeks coming up here. I really only think the thing that's going to shake it up would be Mid-South play. And that's about it. Because and the only reason I say this is because Bethel and Campbellsville are in the same conference. So they're going to have to play each other multiple times throughout the year. That's the only reason I could see things shaking up, and it ain't going to shake up too much. I think 1 through 5 is going to be pretty set for a long time unless something unforeseen happens in the near future. Those are all the games that happen between Thursday and Saturday. We're going to go now into these coming days of the Frontier. I'm going to give you guys quick takes, the picks that I feel like are going to go with each game, and then we'll keep moving on to the next conference, which I believe is going to be the AAC. Valley City versus Mayville State. That'll be on Tuesday, so tomorrow. I'm going to go with Valley City. Completely gut feeling. I'll be honest with y'all, whenever I do those things, like I told you on the last episode, it's too young of a season for me to really deep dive into a lot of these teams right now, even though we're getting some conference games now under our belt. I'm going Valley City. I feel like they have a good chance. Something tells me to go with them. I'm going to go with them. It is a toss-up. I'm not sitting here saying that it's a done deal, that I'm 100% confident in that pick, but I'm going to give a pick, and I'm going to go with Valley City against Mayville State. Heading over to Frontier Friday. Number 17, Rocky Mountain versus Bismarck State. I got Rocky Mountain. I don't think there's too much to talk about on that one. Receiving votes, Providence versus number 5, Dakota State. Got Dakota State. Not too much to talk about there. A lot of these are going to be chalk, to be honest with you guys. Number 21, Montana Tech versus Mayville State. Montana Tech. Now, Montana Western versus Valley City. I'm going Montana Western. Montana Western had a really good win earlier the year. I can't remember who it was. I'm blanking on the name right now, but it was a very solid win against a ranked opponent. So I'm going to go with Montana Western in that one. MSU Northern Bellevue. This one might be my game of the week for the Frontier, including Friday and Saturday, even though I know we haven't gone to Saturday just yet. MSU Northern's coming off a really good win against Providence. Bellevue's coming off of a tough loss against Dakota State. I do believe Bellevue is a much better team than that score suggests. I'm interested in this one. It's going to tell me a lot. I'm looking for some key players. Can Lauren Gunn have a great game again? Can Cananza have another good game as well? Who from Bellevue is going to step up in a leadership role of saying, hey, what happened? What happened is not completely, it should not be a panic button thing. Again, the number 5 team in the country. All right, let's not act like this was an unranked loss like that. But at the same time, you should have a chip on your shoulder. You should want to go on and say, again, that score does not reflect what type of team we are. And I don't believe it will. So I do think it's going to be a very close contest. I'm going MSU Northern. I'm going to go with a team that has momentum right now, even though I do believe in bounce backs and response type of games. But I'm going to go MSU Northern. But I will go like a one possession game. I don't think it's going to be more than one possession. That's how close I think this game is going to be throughout the entire game. But I am going to go with MSU Northern in the end. And then last Friday game for the Frontier, number 14, Carroll versus Dickinson State. Going Carroll in that one. Pretty chalk Friday for me. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Not too many upsets, in my opinion, kind of going to happen on Friday. We'll see if I'm right when it's all said and done, though. Now heading over to Frontier Saturday. MSU Northern has Dakota State. Love MSU Northern. In my opinion, they're going to be coming into this game on a 2-game winning streak. Very high momentum. Number 5 in the country, though. Number 5 in the country. That's a buzzsaw. That's a momentum killer right there. But I do think it'll be a tough game. I look at it as, if MSU Northern, I can see them starting out really good in the first quarter, second quarter, solid. It's the third quarter that I'm most concerned about. I'm a big believer in the third quarter being what makes or breaks a lot of games. Because if I'm MSU Northern, right, and I'm down, I'm going into the half, either I'm going to go into the half and come out rejuvenated, ready to go, I'm locked in, all this kind of stuff, or I'm going to come out a little flat, that 15 minutes is going to maybe let everything marinate and process and kind of makes it worse. That's what tends to happen. If you have a deficit, even if it's a small deficit, playing against a team like a Dakota State, it could feel like a lot more. So I do think that halftime break, the start of the third quarter will be my biggest thing. If MSU Northern has a really good first 3 or so minutes of the third quarter, maybe we're in for a little treat towards the end of the game. But I'm going to go to Dakota State in this one in at least a 10 to 12 point victory for Dakota State. Number 14, Carroll versus Bismarck. I'm going Carroll, Montana Western, Mayville State. Give me Mayville State in this one. I'm going to shake it up a little bit here. I want Mayville State. I think they can get that one, which will be a very good bounce back after playing against Montana Tech. Providence, Bellevue, another really good game. And I'm going Bellevue with this one. I think they're going to catch this. Receiving votes, Providence has a really tough start to Frontier. You should have won the Montana State Northern game. We're not going to sugarcoat that. Then you've got number 5, Dakota State. Sorry to tell you, I don't think that's going to end in your favor. And then you've got a Bellevue team that probably is looking at you as a very winnable game, given what just happened the 2 previous games before that. However, from Providence's point of view, they need this win drastically because you just lost to MSU Northern. You just had a tough game, I'll say, at least against Dakota State. You got to be able to take this Bellevue game. This one is going to be a very important game, maybe my most important game of the Frontier for the week, just because there's a lot more pressure on Providence and Bellevue. Bellevue's playing with house money, in my opinion. They're supposed to lose this game, just from the ranking standpoint. And that's what I mean when I say that. But I don't think they will. I think Bellevue's going to come out and get this victory, and I'm very excited to watch this game on Saturday. Then we've got Montana Tech and Valley City. Going Montana Tech in that one. And then Rocky Mountain, Dickinson State. I'm going Rocky Mountain in that one. And that will do the Frontier kind of review from Saturday and then the preview going into the week. Heading over now to the AAC. AAC had themselves a little weekend. The hottest team in the AAC right now is Columbia. Very easily. 2-0 after a buzzer beater win against Spartanburg Methodist. And then you improved to 2-0 with a 5-point win against Bluefield. There's something going on here with the Koalas, man. There's something going on with the Koalas. Not going to jump the gun here. Not going to get too emotional here. But I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what Columbia does. They do have a very interesting matchup coming up close, and then we'll talk about in a minute here. But Columbia, coming off of that win against Bluefield, They clearly have a preferred pace. They are trying to get up and down. 20 plus turnovers for both teams, but I'm thinking that's the way that the Columbia wants to play. High pace offense, high pace system. It's going to bring some turnovers, obviously, but they clearly like to play in that system, and it benefits them. 4 players in double figures for this one. Columbia is brewing a possible playoff upsetter type of team right now. Keep an eye on the Koalas. If they get hot, don't be surprised if you blink and going into spring, they're clicking on all cylinders right now. Columbia International versus Pikeville. Pikeville dominates, nothing much to talk about there. I do want to give a shout out to Jalea Warren, 28 points. I believe we've talked officially now about a big three. We talked about Bush, we talked about Stone, and I think Warren has officially added herself into the conversation. Pikeville has a big three, and the AAC should be worried about that. Overall, great shooting night for the Bears, almost 50% from the field. You can't ask for much more if you are Coach William. Johnson versus True McConnell. Johnson with the win by 30. Got to handle business when you need to handle it. Jordan Hefner, 21, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line. Have yourself a night, one of the best scorers in the AAC. There was also good defense by Johnson, bad shooting night by True McConnell, and it equals 22% from the field for True McConnell. It's just kind of how it works sometimes. A really good defense in Johnson, and you add that and you got to credit, I'd say it's probably 70-30 on why True McConnell shot what they shot. I do believe that 70% of that was defense from Johnson, and rightfully so. One of the best teams in the AAC doing what they do best on that side of the ball. Tennessee Wesleyan versus Spartanburg Methodist. Tennessee wins by 8. Julia Howard led the way with a double-double for the starters. Leading scorer, though, was Leslie Hams with 22 off the bench, so congratulations to her and Tennessee Wesleyan on the win. Tennessee had more turnovers, less steals, but I do believe the depth was the biggest kind of differentiating factor. 40 points. I know 20 of those came from Leslie, obviously, but 40 points for Tennessee Wesleyan off the bench, 27 for Spartanburg Methodist. Yes, it's a 13-point difference, but 13 points in an 8-point win or an 8-point game are the difference in the ball game. And I do believe that's what it came down to in the end between these two teams. Big win for Tennessee Wesleyan, in my opinion. Spartanburg Methodist now falls to 0-2 in a tough start in AAC play. Last one for the AAC before we head over to the previews. Bryan versus Union. Bryan with the 20-point dub. Not much to talk about there. Union had a great shooting day, believe it or not. Bryan had a better one, in my opinion. I mean, 44% for Union from the field, 30% for Union from the three-point line, but it was a quarter. We talked about quarters. Bryan had 20-point quarters 3 times. 3 out of the 4 quarters that Bryan had, it was 20 points or more. It's just hard to beat a team like that. And you lose by 20. You lose by 20, and that's kind of how it works sometimes. Bryan also had more offensive rebounds, 17-5, and less turnovers, 29-16. It all comes together. It was 1 quarter, or it was 3 quarters really, but overall you saw that they had more opportunities to score, more chances to get shots on target, get quality possessions compared to for Union. And Union, you get pressure on your offense. Yes, you shoot the ball very well, but you don't shoot the ball enough compared to the amount of opportunities you're giving your opponent. It's going to be a tough way to win basketball games in the AAC. Heading over to AAC Wednesday. A lot of conference games are going to be Wednesday, Saturdays, kind of how it works. A few conferences are going to be a little bit different, but for the most part, it's going to be Wednesdays and Saturdays. For Wednesday's first game, Montreat versus Columbia International. Give me Montreat in that one. I think Montreat's going to come out with a nice little win there, maybe about 12 or 15 points in my opinion. Pikeville, Johnson. Whew, I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. Give me Pikeville, though. Give me Pikeville, and honestly, give me Pikeville in about I want a Pikeville statement. So give me 25. I'm going out on a limb. Give me 25 for the Pikeville Bears. I told y'all in the interview with Coach Williams, I'm buying property on Pikeville Island. It's an island right now. Wait till it becomes a continent, because it's gonna be a continent pretty soon. But I'm buying it. I'm in Pike Vegas. I'm loving it. I'm here. I'm a Bear. Pikeville with a big win here. Johnson will not make it easy. I do think it's like a quarter, maybe a run that opens it up, but the majority of this game will be a close one, and so I don't want to make it look like I'm disrespecting Johnson, because they are still one of the best teams in the AAC and a team to beat, given they have been the champions in the AAC before. Tennessee Wesleyan, True McConnell. Give me Tennessee Wesleyan. Again, a really good win by them against Spartanburg Methodist. Biggest thing for me for Tennessee Wesleyan: can we cut down the turnovers, and then we can get a 10-point victory? If not, give True McConnell a look. Basketball's a game of numbers. You had 22% from the field. I promise you're not shooting that again this next game. At least 35%. Now you're giving yourself a chance at this game. but at least 35%. So Tennessee Wesleyan cannot give True McConnell extra opportunities. I already expect them to be at 35 on their own possessions. You give them an extra possession every other possession. Now you got to look at them maybe shooting 40% from the field, and you're going to be in a dogfight because now they got confidence. Everything's going. Everything's clicking. Everybody's hitting shots. And now it's going to be a lot tougher to try and cool them down. So I'm going to go Tennessee Wesleyan. If the turnover stayed down, I'm going to go Tennessee Wesleyan. Bluefield, Milligan. Milligan needs this one, and I think they need this one bad. It's been a tough start of the season just from a standpoint of the schedule that they have. Now, again, not tough because they're losing games, just tough because they have some tough teams. That's really what it comes down to. I'm going to go Milligan, and I need a big one from Milligan. I need at least a 20 ball. I really do. And then Bryan versus Brenau. I'm going Bryan, another 20-point performance for that team. Saturday for the AAC, Reinhardt, Spartanburg Methodist. Give me Reinhardt. Give me the Eagles. That's going to be a little close one. Give me a 5-point win for Reinhardt. Pikeville, Montreat. I'm going Pikeville in this one. Pikeville by 15. Pikeville by 15. Brenau, Columbia International. I'm going to go Columbia International. Could be a sneaky game right there between the Rams and Brenau. I'm going to go Columbia International, though. I think they give this one. Could be a dogfight. Give me a 7-point win for the Rams, though. Columbia Johnson. This is the one that I'm looking forward to because it is going to be a test for Columbia. Are you really going to be a team that could spoil someone in conference in the AAC? What I mean by that is we fast forward in the spring. And let's say, I'm just throwing out names, but let's say Johnson's up there for the number 1 seed. They're tied with whoever else you want to talk about. But they end up getting the 3rd seed. Look at the records. Just by 1 game. Columbia game. Johnson's the favorites here. Don't get me wrong. Johnson's supposed to win this game. But I'm going Columbia because they've made a believer out of me in these first 2 games. It's just 2 games. Am I overreacting? Maybe. Am I going to pay for it? Possibly. But I'm willing to risk it because I'm here for it. You win on a game winner. You bring out a close one against Bluefield. They've proven to be able to execute in close games. Why would I not go with that team right now? I'm going to go Columbia. It's going to be another close one. Give me a 4-point victory, though. But I'm going Columbia against Johnson. Let's see if I'm right. Then we've got Union versus Milligan. Give me Milligan in this one, but Union keeps it close. Give me an 8-point win, though. 8-point win for Milligan. Then Bryan versus Tennessee Wesleyan. I'm going to go Bryan in that one. Give me a nice little 12-point victory for Bryan to wrap up the AAC. Last conference we're going to do is going to be the Heart of America. The Heart of America going to be a really, really, really good one. A lot of good games happen. A lot of close games happen. So we will do the Heart of America when we come back. And we are back now. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Heart of America now. A lot of games that were played for the Heart. Close games, comebacks, blowouts, all the above. Let's get right into it. First one, Clark versus Missouri Baptist. Missouri Baptist gets their first win, a part of the Heart of America. After a 17-point comeback, MBU brought it back in the 3rd quarter, a 26-6 quarter. That's where this game really just turned on its head, and it became all Spartans all the way through. They dominated the offensive rebound 16-5. We talked about it in the preseason. This is the jungle. This is the jungle. The jungle is about physicality. It's about who can control the rebound, who can control the offensive rebound, the defensive rebounds, who will be more physical in these games. The MBU was more physical in this game, and you saw it from that 3rd quarter, offensive rebounds. You could just see that was where the game was gearing towards. They were led by Riley Jensen, 27 points, 12 rebounds, double-double for her. Very impressive double-double in my opinion. 12 of 20 from the field. Very efficient night for her in MBU's win in the Heart of America Conference play. Mount Mercy versus Baker. Mount Mercy with a 5-point victory. Sydney Morris, 21 and 10, another double-double for her. Notice 10 rebounds, 12 rebounds. It's a pattern. It's a pattern here. Mount Mercy had a better ball movement type of day, in my opinion. 15 assists, like I mentioned earlier. If you're able to get double-digit assists anytime, it's really a positive. I'd say 10 to 13, 12. It's about an average, I think, so every coach would like. 15, I was talking about a very solid day. 20 and above, we're touching record numbers probably for a specific program. You know, a lot of times I could see 25 to 26 being a record for one game. You know what I mean? And that's what's kind of where it was. 15 assists for Mount Mercy. It definitely is going to behoove them in these games. And the 5-point win, Baker, you left 4 points to the line. You shot amazing from the free throw line, 24 for 28. Lost by 5. That's 4 points there. And again, it could be the coach me just being nitpicky, but 4 points, it's a 1-point game down the stretch. Things are a little different. Free throws a little tighter. Shots seem to be a little bit harder to make. You never know. But and it sucks to say that because, again, 24 of 28 is a really good night. That's a very efficient night. And even still wasn't enough. Maybe you needed to go 28 for 28 just to try and give yourself a better chance of maybe a Mount Mercy, making a mistake here or there, something like that, with the 1 point game instead of a 2 possession game. But Mount Mercy does come away with a very tight win there. Culver Stockton versus receiving votes Grandview. Grandview escapes with a 2 point victory. I'm going to say escape because I do believe Culver Stockton had it. 3 players in double figure scoring for Grandview. It came down to one bad quarter, one good quarter. That's really what it was. For the second quarter, Grandview had 18, Culver Stockton had 4. If Culver Stockton gets 2 more points, even if it's 18-6, now it's a tie game in the fourth quarter, maybe going to overtime. That's kind of how this game falls sometimes. It's literally 40 minutes. It can't be 39. It can't be 39 30 seconds. 40 minutes of basketball. And for 10 minutes, Culver Stockton couldn't buy a bucket. They couldn't throw a rock in the ocean, just kind of how it went in that second quarter. They bounced back. Obviously, in the second half, we were able to keep it within a possession at the end. Just fell short of coming out with the upset victory, or at least forcing overtime. And then who knows what happens in OT. But Grandview does escape with that 2-point victory. Missouri Valley versus Graceland. Missouri Valley with 3-point win in overtime. Very, very good performance by Missouri Valley. The stats are pretty even throughout when I went back and looked at them. Nothing jumped out at me. I mean, there were some things that Missouri Valley did well, some things that Graceland did well. It's kind of, that's what I mean by evened out. Someone won one, someone won the other one. And it's kind of all 50-50 at the end of it. It came down to making more plays. It just really did. In an overtime victory, no matter what, I'd say 90% of overtime games, it comes down to throwing the game plan out the window, throwing the stats out the window. Who wants it more? 5 minutes of free basketball. Who wants it more? And in this one, Missouri Valley wanted it more, and they wanted it more by 3 points. That's just kind of what it came down to. Jessica Reeder and Sarah Ortiz combined 46 points plus 11 from Bianca Sabru. And for Reeder, she was 12 for 12 from the free throw line. Very, very impressive performance for her. And both her and Bianca had 9 rebounds to go along with their impressive scoring nights. It was a complete team effort. Again, one team just made more plays. It's one of those games that you hate to lose, you love to win. And if I'm a fan, I would love to give both teams a win, but that's just not how basketball works. Very tough one to swallow for Graceland, but a very great win for Missouri Valley to start their Heart of America conference play. Then we've got 2 more. William Penn versus Benedictine. Benedictine gets the double-figure win. Came pretty close quarter to quarter until the fourth. Everything was pretty even throughout. But then Benedictine won the final quarter by 9, and they really put it away there. The turnover battle was pretty even, but Benedictine did win the offensive battle 17-8. Man, again, the offensive rebound battle and the rebound battle as a whole is what I'm going to be watching for the entire season in the HOA. That's just what it is. You have to be able to hunker down and hold teams to one shot only, and then you got to get yourself some extra opportunities to try and make up for maybe a tough night shooting, whatever the case might be. You got to be able to control the offensive glass if you're going to be trying to win in the Heart of America. Riley Bergman, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists for her, the leader for this Benedictine team in their double-figure scoring win. Number 12, Mid-American Nazarene versus Central Methodist. Mid-American Nazarene does what they do, number 12 in the country for a reason. 4 out of the 5 starters in double-figure scoring. They just imposed it well offensively. It's really what it came down to. They were the better offensive team this night, and they proved it all the way through for the full 40. Heading over now to Heart of America on Wednesday, Culver Stockton versus MBU. I mentioned before, I want to say in the AAC. Oh, no, might have been the Frontier, actually. We talked about, when you come off of a tough loss, how do you respond? I'm going with Culver Stockton in this one. MBU, great comeback victory. Very impressive to keep fighting all the way through. And then not only come back, but come back and win by double digits like that. That's hard to do. It's hard to come back, let alone put it on to the point where now you're the one with double figure scoring lead. But you did come back. Culver Stockton, they didn't come back all the way. They got close, almost an upset, but they couldn't do it. I think that they use that momentum in it, and it guides them into this victory. It's going to be another close game. I think both teams have proven that they like close games. Well, maybe like's a strong word, but they're comfortable in these close games, and I'm going to go Culver Stockton by a 2-point victory in this one. Missouri Valley versus William Woods. Missouri Valley, they impressed me with that overtime victory. I think they ride the momentum. They go into the William Woods, and they get that victory. Receiving votes, Grandview versus Clark. I'm going to go Clark. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I really can't tell you why. It's a gut feeling. I was this close to saying Grandview, and then I decided, you know what? Maybe it's just that I needed to see more from Grandview. I'll say that. I don't think you can eke out a victory against Culver Stockton. You got to do better. I expect you to do better, and I think you should do better. Shouldn't come down to one quarter. It really shouldn't. It should be a very solid victory. I'm not asking for a 20-point performance, but I think you can get at least double-figure scoring game against Culver Stockton. I know disrespect to Culver Stockton. I think they're a very good team, but I think Grandview just a little bit better, and they should have proved that. They didn't. So I'm going to go Clark. And let's see if Clark can do it. Y'all know I'm very high on Clark in the heart of America. I think they could have a really underrated season going into the conference part of their schedule. And a win against Grandview would be really, really, really good to put on your resume and have momentum, kind of a belt, a notch on your belt there in conference play. Number 12, Mid-American Nazarene versus Benedictine. I think it'll be a very underrated game, in my opinion. I'm still going to go number 12 in the country, but I think it'll be about a 10-point game. I think it'll be a pretty close. Maybe at the end it'll open up a little bit, but I think it'll be a pretty close game throughout. I'm excited to watch that one. William Penn versus Central Methodist. Central Methodist. I know William Penn, tough game. CMU, tough games. I think both teams are going to come out with this one eager to get the get back against the next opponent. I just feel like it's going to be a situation where CMU has a little more in the tank than William Penn does. And then Peru State versus Graceland. I'm going to go Graceland for this one. Toss up. I could go either way. You could convince me either way. Don't really have anything to say on that one. Just I feel like two very good teams that are pretty evenly matched. And I'm going to go with Graceland just to give you guys a pick. But I do think it's 50-50 toss up with that one. Heading over now to Saturday before we bring in Lex for the rest of this episode. Clark versus Peru State. Give me Clark. Mount Mercy versus number 12 Mid-American Nazarene. I'm going number 12 Mid-American Nazarene. Benedictine versus Culver Stockton. Now. I'm going to go Culver Stockton. I'm crazy. Yeah, sure. Maybe. I don't know. But I'm here for it. I can't give you an X and O's reason. But Culver Stockton, again, they impressed with the Grandview game. I think they're going to come out and beat MBU. So now they're 1-1 going into this game. Tough loss to start. They could have easily won. Great win against a very up-and-coming, very just game MBU team. And now you've got a very formidable opponent, Benedictine, who, in their own aspect, they're coming off a double-figure scoring win against William Penn. I've got them losing to Mid-American Nazarene. So they're going to be kind of, on the momentum will die down a little bit. They're still going to be a tough team to beat no matter what. I'm going to go Culver Stockton in a close one again. I think this might be even a 1-point game. It might be an overtime game. I'm going to say that. Give me an overtime 1-point victory for Culver Stockton in this one. But I do think that they come out with the victory and kind of an upset. I know both teams are unranked, but I would consider this an upset in my opinion. Grandview versus Missouri Baptist. Give me Grandview in this one. I need a very good win. Again, I know you're supposed to win against Clark. I know you're supposed to win against Missouri Baptist, but I'm going Clark because I was not convinced enough in that first game against Culver Stockton. But I will go Grandview in this one no matter what happens in the Clark game. William Woods versus William Penn. Give me William Penn in that one. Central Methodist versus Park. I like Park. Give me the Park Bucks in that one. And then Baker versus Missouri Valley. I'm actually going to go Missouri Valley. I think Missouri Valley has kind of won me over a little bit here. I think I'm very excited to see what they have in a very scrappy game against Baker. And I do think Missouri Valley pulls it out. I do think it stays under 10 points, though, but I do think they will be able to pull it out in this one. Before we head over to the CCAC, the Sun, and the GPAC, I'm going to bring on Lex. We're going to talk a little bit about those conferences. I think there's even going to be another one. Yeah, the SAC. I knew I was missing one. We'll talk about those 4 conferences and then talk a little bit about what to expect from both those games. So pass over now to myself and Lex. Now we're going to get into the CCAC, a few games that happened for them as well as what to expect. Then we'll have the Sun. Then we will have the GPAC and also the Sooner Athletic. Excuse me. So I know I said I'm going to have Lex on. He has some technical difficulties, so we're just going to walk with it here. Holy Cross versus St. Xavier. St. Xavier with a 15-point win over Holy Cross. Holy Cross was forced into 15 turnovers. I think that kind of just sums it up. You're seeing a lot of a trend here with a lot of these games where whoever took care of the ball more, whoever had a better offensive night tends to win the game. Or if the defense was really that good, then they're able to compensate for maybe not that great of a shooting night. 3 double-figure scores for St. X compared to 1 from Holy Cross. Brooklyn Johnson led the way, 17-5. Veronica Bafia and Aliana Petis, double-doubles, 11-10 for Veronica and 16-14 for Petis. Very strong night for all three of those ladies and a big win for St. Xavier. St. Ambrose versus IU South Bend. St. Ambrose, the 1-point victory. Very nice win there for St. Ambrose. Great offensive showing by both teams. 3 double-figure scores for each. Stats were pretty even all the way through, except for offensive rebounds. 12-4 in favor of St. Ambrose. And in a close game like this, 12-4 could feel like a lot more than it really is. It's 8 possessions pretty much, but those 8 possessions could be the difference between earning that 1-point victory or earning that 1-point loss. And that's kind of, I feel like, how it went for St. Ambrose and IU South Bend. Number 18, St. Francis versus Receiving Votes Governor State. St. Francis with the 11-point victory. Governor State, just not enough offense late. Even after forcing 22 turnovers against St. Francis, it still was not enough. Takara Harrison, 22-6 for St. Francis in a not cleanness, but a very nice win nevertheless for St. Francis in this one. Heading over now to Wednesday for the CCAC, Trinity Christian versus Holy Cross. Give me Holy Cross in that one. IU Northwest versus IU South Bend. Give me South Bend. A tough loss against St. Ambrose. I think they're going to want to bounce back, and I think what better way to do it than against IU Northwest. Peterborough versus number 18 St. Francis, going number 18 St. Francis. Mount Mary versus Governor State. Receiving votes Governor State, going with receiving votes Governor State. Olivia Nazarene versus Judson. I'm going to go with Olivia Nazarene. And Clement versus St. Xavier. I'm going to go St. Xavier in that one. Heading over now to Saturday, CCAC, St. Ambrose versus IU Northwest. Give me IU Northwest in this one. I don't think St. Ambrose is going to be able to get this one under their belt, unfortunately. Olivia Nazarene versus St. Xavier. That's a great test for both teams. I'm going to go with Olivia Nazarene. I think St. Xavier gets their first loss in conference play in that one, but probably a 1 or 2 possession game when it's all said and done. Holy Cross versus Calumet. Give me Holy Cross in that one. And then number 18, St. Francis versus Trinity Christian. Number 18, Francis. Judson versus Peterborough. Judson, I have them winning that one. And then IU South Bend versus Mount Mary. Give me IU South Bend. I'm going to go kind of rapid fire to wrap this up. This episode's already gone a little bit longer. Obviously, I knew it was going to be a longer episode, but don't want to take too much of your guys' time. Heading over now to the Sun. Like we always do, I'm not going to pick anybody in the Sun. Just going to give you guys a schedule, give you guys what happened, and that's about it for the Sun. Receiving votes Southeastern versus receiving votes Florida Memorial. Southeastern with a big win for the Fire in this one. Warner versus Coastal. Coastal gets the win in that one. Weber versus Ave. Weber with a 6-point victory. Very impressive win for Weber in that one. Ourselves, St. Thomas versus Kaiser, great game. Hats off to the Seahawks. They played an amazing game at their place. Came down to really the last few possessions. Even when you thought the game was done, Kaiser were able to come out with some big plays, but we were able to get the 4-point victory in that one. And I know it's the start. Coach Strickland has that team already in swing of things between the players that he brought in and the players he was able to keep from the previous regime. And I'm very excited to see what they're going to do the rest of the season. For the Wednesday games, we will be traveling up to Babson Park to play Weber. Florida Memorial will be going to Warner. Ave at New College. That's going to be a really underrated game on Wednesday. And then Coastal versus Southeastern. Another underrated game on the road for Coastal in that one. And then Saturday we will be traveling over to Lakeland. Kaiser will be playing Warner. Ave will be playing Coastal. And then New College will be playing Florida Memorial. Last 2 conferences here. We got the GPAC and the SAC. I'm going to go with the Sooner Athletic first because it's only one game that we're going to talk about from Saturday, and then we'll talk about the quick hits for Thursday and Saturday's games. Oklahoma City loses to Southwestern Christian by 21. Kind of an unexpected victory, in my opinion, for Southwestern. Nothing against them, but I definitely thought the Stars would take this one, and if not, I didn't see a 20-point blowout, in my opinion. 3 double-figure scores for Southwestern. They forced the Stars into almost 20 turnovers, doubled their offensive rebounds, well, more than doubled them, 5-11. And Christine Harlan, 23 points, 6 rebounds. Very impressive night for her. Overall, I think it was a very impressive win for Southwestern Christian, and I think they should definitely hold their hat on the complete game that they were able to play and the off night that they were able to force the Stars into. For Thursday, Wayland Baptist versus John Brown. I'm going John Brown. Number 10, Langston versus Nelson. I'm going Langston. Panhandle versus College of the Ozarks. I'm going to go College of the Ozarks. Oklahoma City versus USAO. Give me the Stars. I need a bounce back. I really feel like they're going to have a nice bounce back, so I'm going to go with the bounce back story there. Mid-American Christian versus Southwestern Christian. You impress me, I'm going to rock with you. Southwestern Christian in that one. And then Central Christian versus Texas Wesleyan. I'm going to go Texas Wesleyan in that game. For Saturday, they've got Panhandle State versus John Brown. I'm going to go John Brown again. Langston versus Texas Wesleyan. Got to go with number 10 in the country. Oklahoma City versus Mid-American Christian. I'm going to go Mid-American Christian. Wayland Baptist versus College of the Ozarks. Give me Wayland Baptist. Central Christian versus Nelson, and Southwestern Christian versus USAO. I'm going to go with Central Christian and USAO. Those are my last two picks for the Sooner Athletic. Wrap it up with the GPAC, who had a very interesting week. I should say. Northwestern versus Don. It was a Northwestern blowout thanks to one quarter. The first quarter, the first quarter was 18-16 favor Northwestern. Second quarter and third quarter were tied 16-16 and 17-17. The fourth quarter, 31-18, Northwestern pretty much put it on and never let it go. They shot 73% from the field in the fourth quarter alone, and Don went 0 for 5 from 3. That recipe is not good for Don. So even though the score is what it was at the end, don't get it twisted. It was really just one quarter, but one quarter, again, as we've learned, is all it takes. Number 16, Dakota Wesleyan versus number 25, Hastings. Hastings with a massive upset. I cannot emphasize that enough in terms of their top 25 aspirations. This kept them within that picture for at least another week. What I mean by that is, depending on what happens for the next few days, maybe it'll go away. But for right now, they would squarely stay in the top 25, in my opinion, and definitely move up. Dakota Wesleyan, unfortunately, you're getting closer and closer falling out of the top 25, but you got plenty of games in front of you to kind of overcome that. 4-point win for Hastings, 3 double-figure scores for the Broncos. Game was won at the free throw line, in my opinion. Hastings won 18 for 23, Dakota Wesleyan 13 for 20. It's where the game is won right there. That's extra 2 points right there, and that makes a difference. You know, kind of what we talked about earlier with, I forget what game it was, been running through so many games right now, but same thing. You make those 2 points, now it's a one possession game. Things are a lot different. And granted, Hastings has been there before and been on the other end of it. That does not necessarily mean that they're going to be able to come out on top this time around. McKenna Yates and Bailey Kissinger, 18 points combined and 11 for 11 from the free throw line. Very impressive for both of them to have 18 points. Very impressive for both of them to not miss a bucket from the line. Very impressive game for the Hastings Broncos. I think they needed it very, 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 very bad. Now heading over to receiving votes, Morningside versus Midland. Morningside with a 12-point victory, 3 double-figure scores for Morningside. They forced more turnovers, 21, and more steals. So 16 steals out of those 21 turnovers were in favor of Morningside, led by Lily Bolston, 14 points, 19 rebounds. Girl almost had 15-20 game. Yes, you heard me right, 15-20, but reverse style. A very impressive win for Morningside in that one. Number 9, Briarcliff versus College of St. Mary. Chargers dominate. Not much to say about there. Waldorf versus number 11, Concordia. Concordia statement. And what I mean by that is Concordia made a statement. And what I mean by that is it was 133 to not a lot. I forget what the score was off the top of my head, but it was a blowout. And Concordia has been the talk of the town for the past couple weeks here, obviously going from unranked to number 11 in the country, from one poll to another, proving that they deserve to be there, to be honest with you. I mean, that was a dominant win, 7 double-figure scores for Concordia. I'm here for it. I'm here for the Bulldog show, and I'm going to stay as long as they'll have me, because I'm very interested to see how far this team can go now. I'm just interested. I'm just really interested, and that's what it's going to come down. That's really what I'll have to say there, as I'm lost for words because of how high this team might actually be able to go in terms of not just the GPAC, but maybe the national tournament. And then Dordt, Mount Mary. Dordt wins that one. Again, not too much to talk about there. For the GPAC, Wednesday, Mount Mary versus Midland. Give me Midland in that one. Receiving votes, Morningside, Dakota Wesleyan, number 16 in the country. I'm going to go with Dakota Wesleyan because they need this one bad. They need this one bad. You've already been upsetted once this week. You cannot get upset again. That cannot happen, especially to a receiving votes team. No offense to Morningside, but Dakota Wesleyan, you need to come out with this one. Northwestern versus Don. Give me Northwestern, even though I'm pretty sure that was a typo on my end. Number 9, Briarcliff versus Waldorf. Number 9, Briarcliff for sure. College of St. Mary versus number 11, Concordia. I'm going with the Bulldogs. I already said I'm going to be here at this dog park as long as they'll have me. For Saturday, Mount Mary versus receiving votes, Morningside. Give me Morningside. College of St. Mary versus Waldorf. I think Waldorf comes away with this one, the tight one against College of St. Mary. Midland versus Dakota Wesleyan. I'm going Dakota Wesleyan. Don versus Briarcliff. Give me Briarcliff. Concordia, Northwestern. I think that'll be a really close game. I think it'll be a really good game. But I'm going to go with Concordia. Number 25, Hastings versus number 1, Dordt. Give me the Dordt Defenders. And that will do it for this episode. Again, that was a little bit of a longer one. Hope you guys were able to stay with me for as long as we were here for. If you stay with me the whole time, we appreciate you. We love you. We do this for you. If you're just joining me at the end here, don't worry. We appreciate you too. But make sure you watch the rest of this episode because I do think it was a solid one. Again, probably not going to have as of right now, don't look like it's going to have a midweek episode lined up just yet. Hopefully we'll get back to regularly scheduled programs when everything gets situated on our end. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed the past weekend, and I hope you guys will enjoy this coming weekend's conference games and very important key games on the non-conference side of things as well. Catch you guys in the next one.